What's up, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back for a video game review. And for today, we're going to be taking a look at BulletStorm Full Clip Edition for the PS4, also available on Xbox One and PC. I'll be honest with you, though, I never really got a chance to play this game when it originally came out back in 2011, though, but I have heard some good things, and some pretty positive things. I mean, it has gotten some good reviews. Some gamers have liked it. It's sort of gained sort of a cult hit, sort of like a cult hit status, but it's also garnished some controversy. When the game was released back in 2011, supposedly it was accused of promoting, increase in rape or everything, and it came from a doctor who was on Fox News. Then again, this is Fox News we're talking about, a network that uses fair and balance for the fact that they're really a right-wing news organization, and doesn't surprise me there, but that's a different story. So it sort of garnished that controversy, but putting that controversy aside, though, the game unfortunately did not perform very well. So it was sort of a disappointment, though. But, however, the game is back again, this time being re-released on the PS4, Xbox One, and for the PC as well. And after playing it for the last couple of days, I have to say that I do kind of wish I played this game when it came back in 2011, because it is quite fun, though. Even though it's garnished a new controversy, nothing to do with Fox News, just something else. So, why don't we get started with the pros and cons? We'll start first with the pros, and I will say the first pro would be the gameplay mechanics, and I will say they are actually quite fun. I like the idea of basically you have to sort of be creative on sort of how to take out your enemies. Sometimes it's not as simple as just sort of shooting them. Sometimes you can use environments as sort of to take them out, and if you're very creative enough, you'll earn basically skill points or points in general, in which you can use during the game to sort of power up your weapons or add new stuff to your weapons, ranging from buying more ammo to adding some new features to your weapons to add a bit more bang to it. So, but I like some of the ideas. Like some of them are like grabbing an enemy with a whip and then kicking them into like a cactus, or let's see, if you take off like half of them, it's sort of like if you cut off like half the a certain part of the body or the whole half of it, you get like what's called topless. Yeah, but yes, it's gruesome, but I do like the creative idea that they put into a lot of, in terms of, how to take out the enemies rather than traditional, just shoot them and take them out. The next one I will say is that the story is somewhat funny, and does have a little bit of a serious tone, and is a bit juvenile, if I'm saying that name correctly, though. A lot of it has to do with a lot of the swearing, cussing, and a lot of the sex jokes in the game. Personally, I don't have any issue with the sex jokes or anything like that in the game. I really could care less. I mean, it's not like it's language that I haven't heard before or anything like that. And besides, if you play a game like Grand Theft Auto, then I'm pretty sure, and you're okay with the language in there, then I'm pretty sure you'll be okay with the language in BulletStorm. I mean, and to some degree, it kind of sort of makes fun of those military shooters, that tend to take themselves too seriously. So, but overall, story-wise, it is funny, a bit juvenile, a bit serious, but still enjoyable, nevertheless. And last but not least, being this is a remastered game, the game does run very good 60 frames per second. I do believe it does run at 1080p. Not to mention, it has a good art style as well. I think it runs at 4K. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it does for those who have like a PlayStation PS4 Pro or so on. I have a standard PS4, not a PS4 Pro, but overall it runs perfectly fine. It runs smooth, good 60 frames per second, good 1080p. So, but overall, visually it looks nice, and so on. Alright, so we're going to take a little bit of a break, and when we come back, I will give you the cons of what I don't like about BulletStorm Full Clip Edition, and talk about the new controversy that somehow the game has got itself into. One that it really did not need to in any way. So we'll take a bit of a break, and we will be right back. Okay, folks, and we are back with part 2 of our review. I forgot to mention, though, if you want to see some gameplay footage of me playing the game, I'll have a link in the description below of this video, so you can check that out. So now that we got the pros out of the way, why don't we get started with the cons, alright? The first one is, and this is just based on my preference, is sort of the odd way to duck in the game. Now, I'm sure there's probably an option you could change it in, maybe in the option menu to change some of the controls or some of the way it's set up. I'm not 100% sure, but as far as I can know, in order to duck, you have to sort of click down on the R right on the, or I think it's the left, I'm sorry, the left analog stick in order to sort of duck, which it's an odd choice considering that the left analog stick is basically there to move your character. Now, in other first-person shooter games before, I mean, clicking down on the left analog stick automatically makes your character run, which makes a little bit more sense, but to press this down to duck, I just think sort of it's an odd choice, and you could find yourself in a situation where you want to duck, but you end up moving your character by mistake. So, personally, I think it's an odd choice that they even added that in this game. The next one is that it's the Duke Nukem code and everything, and I haven't tried it out yet. I've seen some footage of it, and while it is kind of interesting, though, I just feel to a certain degree, and again, this is my opinion, other people may have a different view on this, I just feel that it comes off as Gearbox needs to do something with Duke Nukem, especially after Duke Nukem Forever bombed, although I have heard some people like it or not, but either case, it did not, that game didn't perform well, and it just feels like they had to do something with this character, and they just threw him into the game. And not to mention, it's basically, I think, $5 to download the character. I think this is for those, I think, who purchases digitally or who didn't pre-order it right off the bat or anything like that, but I just think it just seems unnecessary. I think if you really want to get Duke back on his feet, you should really try to put effort to make a whole new Duke Nukem game. So, in either case, I just think it's sort of odd that Gearbox put him in this game. I just think it just comes off as basically as like they need to do something with the character. And last but not least, though, and this might be, and I said this with Lego City Undercover, and I'm going to say this with BulletStorm Full Clip Edition as well. The game is $60, and it might be kind of a hard pill to swallow for some people. I think a lot of people would have paid maybe a little bit less than what they're charging, though. I mean, especially since this game came out back in 2011, so it's not brand new. It's just a remaster of an old game, so it might be a big deal for some people, though, to buy a remastered game for $60. Overall, I have to say, despite some of my negativities of it, though, I did enjoy BulletStorm Full Clip Edition. I think the gameplay is solid. I like the ideas of, you know, be creative ways to kill your enemies and everything like that. And the story, I mean, like I said, it's juvenile, but it's still funny, and it does have its serious moments, and I do enjoy the game in general, though. It's just a shame it didn't perform well. It came out in 2011, because I really would like to see a BulletStorm 2. I actually would be open to something like that. I would, maybe if they do it like in an open world style approach. I don't know whether or not that will work or not, but in either case, if you missed it out the first time around, it's worth taking a look at again, provided that you don't have an issue with the fact that you're paying $60 for a remaster of a 2011 game that didn't exactly perform well when it came out, though. Okay, before I end this video, I do want to point out, as I mentioned, is that BulletStorm is apparently in another controversy, and this has nothing to do with Fox News at all, much as I'm not a big fan of Fox News in any way. So there are a couple of articles. Again, I'll have a link in the description of this video. You could check it out. And I think Jim Sterling did a video on this as well, so you could check that out as well. Again, link is in the description. It has to do with a website referring to as G2A. I think it has to do with the fact that they sell like keys and all that stuff. Again, I'm not a PC gamer. I'm pretty sure for those who game on PC may or may not have heard of it. Most likely they did, but in either case, it seems as though this site G2A has a history of reselling keys that supposedly has been stolen and everything like that. And supposedly the whole story goes is that Total Biscuit, another YouTuber, sort of came out and basically pointed out all these things to Gearbox, and eventually under pressure Gearbox sort of cut ties with this group, and G2A sort of responded to this. Again, this is from The Escapist. This was published on April 10th, 2017. I'll have a link in the description of the story below. You can read it yourself. It says, This week brought forth a lot of confusion and caused a lot of inaccurate information to appear on the internet about G2A.com. Although this saddens us, at the same time, we're also glad to have the opportunity to thoroughly explain many of the inaccurate and misleading ties to G2A.com. It all began with a few negative reactions from some YouTubers, and in particular from Total Biscuit, to announce that G2A.com is working with Gearbox Publishing. Our partner Gearbox Publishing unfortunately decided to publicly publish a letter with a list of ultimatums without consulting us about the truth of the allegations made by Total Biscuit. This is an excellent example of the rash action without full knowledge of the facts that can be harmful to both the developers and the marketplace, especially since all the requests made to G2A.com in the ultimatum has in fact long been part of our marketplace. Now, again, I'm not a PC gamer, so I don't know the whole story, don't know this whole issue, what exactly the big deal is, but if it is true that G2A is doing something illegal, if that is correct, if it is, sort of mention that in the comment section though. If it is, then I can understand why Gearbox sort of would pull their support for this. At the same time, supposedly, according to the video from the Jimquisition, and again, I'll have a link in the description, supposedly though, Gearbox made this decision after basically Total Biscuit released this information and told Gearbox why they should not partner with him. So, while what Gearbox did was probably right, I mean, it's going to add more controversy to them, considering that they have had a history of major controversies directed towards them, especially with Aliens, Colonial Marines. We all know the story about that. Battleborn failing to perform as well as they had hoped for. And now you have this controversy, which could probably spill over to BulletStorm, which I don't think deserves it. I think the game does deserve another chance, and I do think we do deserve a sequel. But whatever case, Gearbox really has, unfortunately, this may not be the thing that damaged their reputation. That was Aliens, Colonial Marines, but this adds more to it, and it's just unfortunate that this had to happen to BulletStorm, okay? I really do hope the game does well, but I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't perform again. I think a lot of people will point to this controversy with G2A, but I also think more than likely Gearbox will be blamed for it, though. I mean, then again, like I said, they've gotten a lot of controversy, and it's that sometimes I do kind of question what their CEO is thinking and what they're doing when they're pulling this kind of stuff. Alright, anyway, this concludes my review of BulletStorm Full Clip Edition for the PS4, also available on Xbox One and PC. And again, these are my opinion. But what are yours? Have you played BulletStorm Full Clip Edition yet? Have you not played it yet? Are you going to pick it up? Did you miss it out on the first time and want to pick it up again? Or are you have no plans to pick it up at all? Do you think it deserves another shot? Do you think it deserves to do well to get a sequel? Or you don't think it doesn't deserve to get a sequel? Do you think the $60 price tag is justifiable? Or do you think it's ridiculous that they're charging that? And of course, the whole G2A controversy. Do you think this will impact the game, the full clip edition? Or do you think it'll have virtually no impact at all? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And I hope you hit that like button, and I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You can either do it through PayPal me or through Patreon. I'll have a link in the description of this video. And this concludes this video for BulletStorm Full Clip Edition for the PS4. And it's afternoon in Southern California, so it'll be evening soon, so I'll be gearing up, finishing off all the stuff I have to do for the rest of the day. And so this concludes this video, and I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that will be soon. Until then, for Southern California, I wish you all a good afternoon and also a good day. Bye!